Welcome back. Chapter 13. After being bareback on a skinny pony, sitting atop Daisy and the saddle felt like being on a lounge recliner. Why had she ever complained about it? As they rode through the warm Kansas night, Etta finally relaxed. Her weary muscles quit aching, her head fell forward, and she went to sleep. She woke up once to see that Max was leading her horse. She smiled. He always took care of her. The next time she woke, he was pulling her off the horse. She snuggled in his arms. He was bare-chested, lovely. She closed her eyes. "No, you don't," he said. "You have to have a bath. You smell so bad I think wolves are following us." "I just want to sleep." "So, do they, with their bellies full of careless people. Get undressed." "That sounds nice." She leaned against a tree and went back to sleep. Again, Max woke her. "Here, drink this. It'll help you for a while." He held a flask to her lips. She took a big swallow, then coughed. "That is truly nasty." "Red Dog's finest. Come on, get that off." She woke up enough to see that they were at a pool of water by a stream. "A hot tub," she said dreamily, "steaming warm." "You'll wish it was." When she fumbled at her buttons, he brushed her hands away and began undressing her. "You were wonderful today," she said. "You think so?" I know that you're the most beautiful man I've ever seen." She flipped out of her filthy shirt, excuse me. "That whiskey went to your head. It hit another part of me," she said suggestively. He laughed as she held onto his shoulders and she stepped out of her gacho pants. "Where did you learn to ride like that? To shoot? Did you keep those G-string panties?" "The what?" She didn't answer. "I spent some time with the Kansas when I was a kid. Anything to escape my father." "You were surprised. It was like you knew the chief." She was in her underwear, not that it should be called that as it covered her like winter clothes. "Chief? Oh, you mean Lester? He looked good, didn't he? I should have guessed who he really was." Max pulled her away from the tree and led her to the water. As soon as her foot touched it, she turned back. "Ooh, it is too cold. I really need to sleep." He pulled her back, then guided her into waist-deep water. "You'll walk straight through those buffalo, but a little cool water scares you?" Her teeth were chattering. Max turned her around. He had some sort of soap and he began washing her hair. "That feels wonderful." As his soapy hands moved downward, he slipped off her big cotton underwear and threw it in the bank. With her eyes closed, she felt his hands run over her body, her breasts, between her legs, every inch of her. When he lifted his head, she put her arms around his neck. He pulled her to him. He was naked and she wrapped her legs around his waist, her breast against his warm, bare chest. He held her tightly as they made love in the water. Ugh. She collapsed against him. "I think I need to be washed again." "If I must," he whispered against her neck. They held each other for a while. "Let's get some sleep," he said. She didn't release him. He carried her out of the water, then stood her on the ground. She was cold again. Max went to the saddle and pulled out a pair of trousers. He took clean underclothes out of the bag she packed and handed them to her. As she dressed, she was shivering. Max handed her the leather jacket Cornelia had given her. "Put this on." It was nicely warm. Beautiful Cornelia, my competition. Max gave her a quick kiss. "If it was a contest, that means I'm the prize. I can assure you that you won." Etta smiled. "That's like winning an Olympic gold medal in every sport." He rolled out a blanket on the ground. "Not sure what that means, but I like it. Get in bed." She readily obeyed, then looked up at Max. Moonlight glowed around him. "Come to me." "In a minute," he said. She heard no more as she went to sleep. Yet again, she woke to the smell of bacon frying. For the first time, she didn't feel terror that she was back at Henry's house. She could smell the pure, cool air of Kansas. It was early and the birds were beginning to chirp. Slowly, she opened her eyes. Max, in clean clothes, his hair damp as though he'd taken an early morning swim, was at the campfire. A skillet full of bacon was sizzling. "Good morning," he said. She came up on her elbows with a groan. She was sore. "Did you sleep at all?" "Enough. We need to go. Today will be hard." As opposed to the ease of yesterday? He smiled. "That was all you're doing. I just watched." The image of him on horseback, barely dressed, made her lie back down, smiling. She had, I know the word, lasciviousness. I'm going to make it a word for you. I'm going to put in a definition so you can hear it actually pronounced. Thoughts. "No time for that now." "But it's our honeymoon," she said. He stood over her, looking down at her. "I think we can make it to a real town tonight. If we do, we can stay in a hotel." She looked up at him with interest. "There'll be a bed with clean sheets. We can go to a bathhouse where they have tubs full of hot water." She lifted. "How hot?" "Like you're a piece of Kansas beef on a grill. They'll have laundry service and everything can be washed." She sat up. "What about flush toilets?" He gave her a blank look. With a sign, Etta raised her hand for him to help her up. It was worth a try. "What's for breakfast?" Tortillas and bacon." "Tortillas and bacon." "And 3 leafy greens?" She muttered, but she was still smiling. Memory of what they'd done the day before was coming to her. "Did they get away?" He knew who she meant. "Yes, with your help, they took a lot of meat." He nodded to the pendant around her neck. That's for a chief's family." She looked at the necklace Lester had given her. It was round, decorated with a combination of metal and glass beads. Quite beautiful. Her hand closed around it. His family, the appropriate. She knew he was waiting for her to tell more, but she didn't know how to explain how she knew Lester. "Where are my clothes?" He looked at the wide rock at the pool. Her gaucho pants, the only pair she had, were stretched out there. He had washed them and set them out to dry. He must have done it last night after she went to sleep. She picked them up like before. They weren't fully dry, but they were wearable. "You did this for me," she said softly. She couldn't help it, but tears gathered in her eyes. Max pulled her into his arms. "What's this about? It's just a pair of pants, and they smell so bad I wouldn't be able to stand you today." He leaned away to look at her. "Come on now, it's all right." Etta put her head back on his shoulders. "No one has done so much for me in my whole life. I'm the one who takes care of people. My mother when she was alive, my little sister, my father, they all depend on me. Always." He slipped his hand into her hair. "Then it's time for someone to look after you." Pulling away, he kissed her forehead. "Let's get out of here before the Cheyenne and the Pawnees find us, and the Kanza might kidnap you to keep. I'm not letting anyone take you away from me." She smiled. "I won't let them or anyone else take me from you." "Not even the horse thief you want me to save?" When she laughed, he wiped away her tears with his thumbs, then kissed her. "Is that bacon burning?" Etta leaped away and saved their bacon. They rode for hours. Etta didn't know how Max knew the way to Arkansas, but he certainly seemed to. When the sun was high and hot, he at last stopped. "The horses need rest," he said. "Poor things." Etta achingly dismounted. "Too bad they're not humans and can go without stopping." Max gave a grunt of laughter and pulled some hard little sticks from a bag and handed her a couple. "Beef jerky, my favorite." She nearly fell to the ground. She hurt all over. However, when Max stretched out beside her and began kissing her neck, she forgot about muscle aches. When she fumbled at her clothes trying to get the wide split pants down, he said, "Dresses are better. This is my armor. Makes you work for the prize." His kisses deepened, and they made love on the grass in the shade of an elm tree. Minutes later, he was helping her back onto her horse. "You are the best lunch date I've ever had." she said, smiling. He handed her the jerky she hadn't finished eating. When the sun was dropping in the sky and Etta was dozing in the saddle, with Max leading the rein, he turned off the trail and they entered a little town. Sleepily, Etta said, "What is this place?" "I have no idea. It'll probably be gone tomorrow." He's more right than he know, she thought. She followed him to the stables and watched, her eyes barely open, as he talked to a man and handed over money. Max helped her down, removed their supplies from their saddles, and slung them over his shoulders. "There's a hotel," he said. "Can you stay awake for it? For clean sheets? I could climb a mountain." They left the stables and walked through the usual dirt to a building with a double front door. Max opened one and let her go in first. It was a simple room, but along the edge were some tables and chairs. She assumed they were for playing cards, like at the Red Dog, but then she got a whiff of... Her eyes widened. "Is that food?" she asked Max. "Real food?" "Yes, stay here." He dropped the bags at her feet and went to a tall desk to talk to a man. Again, the aroma of cooking came to her. Etta closed her eyes. She felt like a cartoon character, and she just might float away by the smell. "Come on." Max picked up the bags. "Food first or the hot bath?" "Food," she nearly shouted. "Thought so. I ordered for us. There's a choice of beef or some beef. I love Kansas." Etta said. She followed him to the back to a table for two. He dropped the bags by his chair and they sat down. Bowls were set before them. It was beef stew with carrots and potatoes, a basket of bread still warm from the oven, and a crock of freshly churned butter was put on the table. Big mugs were filled with foamy beer. Etta grabbed the mug, gulped down a lot, then looked at it in wonder. "It's an artesian beer." "I don't know what that means, but the owner said his wife makes it. She is from heaven." Max had his mouth full and nodded in agreement. They ate ravenously. Etta slathered bread chunks in butter, keeping them both supplied. They doused the stew in salt, replenishing what they lost in sweat. "This is the best meal I ever had in my life," she said. She ate 2 bowls of stew and what had to be half a loaf of bread. The waiter kept their mugs full of the home-brewed beer. "It tastes of sage. Wild Prairie Sage Beer," Etta said to the waiter. "That should be its name." She made a run to the outhouse. Funny how, after days of having to look out for rattlesnakes, the safety of an outhouse seemed downright luxurious. When she went back inside, Max was still eating. She leaned back in her chair, enjoying watching him. She felt much better after the food, more awake. She looked forward to a bath, but then she saw the heaviness of his eyelids. Invincible, indefatigable, Max was worn out. She thought about the last few days and how little he slept. While she dozed in the saddle, he took over. While she slept at night, he washed her clothes. He went to bed after she did, got up before she did. He really needed to sleep, but she knew him well enough to know that if she suggested that they skip baths and go to bed, he'd balk. He promised her a hot bath, and no matter what, he'd make sure she got it. It was time for her to be the caretaker. "I want to wear my new shirt, the one Freddie and Sally gave me." "Sure, you can put it on after we take baths. They have peach cobbler here." "I hope it's with cream." It was. She ate only half of hers, then pushed the rest to him. Max ate it all. "Can we get my shirt now?" "I guess. Which bag is it in?" He looked down at the pile on the floor. "I don't know. Let's take everything to our room, and I'll search for it." When he hesitated, she said, "Please." He led the way up the flight of stairs, then down a short hall to open the door to a sparsely furnished room. Afternoon sun shone through the window, highlighting the bed. To Etta, the clean white sheets and the soft mattress were like a golden throne. If angels started singing a hallelujah chorus, she wouldn't have been surprised. Max dropped the bags to the floor but didn't move. "You better sit down while I search for my shirt." I see what she did there. He headed toward the hard wooden chair against the wall. Use the bed, she said. I need the chair. Smart. He didn't speak, just sat down on the side of the bed. Unlike the ground, the mattress sunk down, sweetly closing around him. He shut his eyes. Etta waited a few moments, then went to him and pushed on his chest. He fell back like an overstuffed duffel bag. He was sound asleep. She stood there for a while looking at him. He had days of beard growth, and his eyes were sunken in fatigue. She thought of him as a boy, having to take care of the women in his life, and running away to ride ponies with his native friends. And through it all, he had to deal with the bad temper of his father. Mac's feet were still off the bed. It wasn't easy to lift them, but when he turned on his side, that helped. She pulled off his boots. He had on socks, and one had a hole in the toe. I'll have to darn it, she thought. When she massaged his tired feet, he relaxed more, his wide shoulders dropping down. Somehow, the massage, the thought of repairing his socks and watching him sleep were more intimate than sex. For the first time, Etta felt like she was really and truly his wife, not girlfriend, not lover, not even friend, his wife. She removed her clothes. The corset was stained and smelled so much of buffalo that she smiled in memory. When they got back, she'd have great stories to tell Alice and Pat and Nellie. Rufus and the men would love to hear them too. When she was down to her underwear, not clean, but not covered in buffalo fat, she lay down beside him. Instinctively, he pulled her to him like a teddy bear, and she fell asleep in his arms. Time to get up, she heard Mac say. Go away. There was a pillow. With an incredible divine luxury, a pillow. She put it over her head. I want to sleep. Remember the bath I promised you? It's here. Only now it's cold. If you don't get up, I'll pour it on you. You wouldn't. She turned over to look at him. Max was standing with one foot on the floor and the other one on the bed. The only clothing he had on was the buckskin breechcloth. His legs were bare. The side of his glorious behind was exposed. His chest and arms were naked. A streak of early morning sunlight came through the window and hit him. Time for another hallelujah chorus. Etta swallowed. What did you call this? He flipped up the front of the teeny tiny breechcloth. She tried to speak, but nothing came out. He put his legs down, walked across the room, then held up the shirt with the bird on it. This what you were looking for? It was on top. Odd that you couldn't find it. He is so smart. When he moved, she could see the muscles in his body. They undulated, rippled, moved in a lazy, easy way that made her mouth dry. How soon can you be ready to go? He asked with feigned innocence. Oh, please do shut up. She opened her arms to him. She discovered that a breechcloth came off very easily. That's the end of chapter 13. It was sweet and simple, this chapter. Nothing really much to talk about it. But I'm digging Mac. She be thinking she be getting over, but he's smart. And he very observant, and he paid close attention to her. And he's given her what she wanted out of a man. And she's finally have someone that's, like she said, is taking care of her, and she don't have to take care. But then she also did something to help him relax. I love that 50-50 kind of relationship stuff. Okay, so real quick, there was one word. Okay, it is spelled. How is it spelled? Lascivious. Okay, and this is how it's pronounced.
Lascivious.
Lascivious. Okay. So it's of a person, it's an adjective, of a person's manner or gesture, feeling or revealing an overt and often offensive sexual desire. One more time.
Lascivious.
Lascivious. Okay, in this sentence it says, the image of him on horseback, barely dressed, made her lie back down, smiling. She had a lascivious thought. Okay, that fit perfectly because she love her some Max and he fine to her, ain't he though? Okay, so that's the end of the definition portion and the end of this chapter. I shall see you in the next chapter. Bye for now.